What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Amped Up with BC for Wednesday, October 16, 2024. We got a good one for you on today's show. This one's going to be a good one, man. A good conversational piece, if you allow it to be. Because I know a lot of individuals take these type of top performer lists, they take it very serious. And they start doing their own little research and they start thinking, wait a second, how is this performer above this performer? And what is this performer even doing on the list? What is this pro wrestler? How did they make the top 10? What we're talking about is the PWI 250, the top 250 females in professional wrestling. According to PWI anyway, BC has the top 10 list. The top 10 performers, the top 10 females in professional wrestling. Are you guys ready? Can you handle this? Try not to get too heated, all right, with this list. Again, this is according to PWI, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. The rules that they laid down were very simple, right? October 1st, 2023 to September 2024. That's the timeline. So October 1st, 2023, last year, October 2, September of this year. That is your full year timeline. All right, so that's what we're going with. So when BC did his research on the 10 ladies that they have from 1 to 10 in totality, my research is conducted within those guidelines, October of last year to September of this year, because I have done my due diligence for you guys, trust me. I did a lot of homework, a lot of research, a lot went into this. BC's fact-checking to see if they're even semi-accurate with this list. Now, I do have to say, right, just like with any list, and I will give PWI some upfront credit because I'm pretty sure that they have come up with this list, determined this list based on a lot of their own facts, a lot of discussion, based on maybe record, wins and losses, hopefully, right? Wins and losses, their booking, individual booking. So there's probably so much merit that goes into this list. So I don't want to completely discredit this list. A lot of merit most likely went into it. However, and this is a big asterisk, it is still very much subjective. Just like if BC was to put out the top 10 females of 2024, or any one of my subscribers listening to this right now was to put up their own top performers of 2024, it's subjective. I would hope it's based in merit, right? You put wins and losses into consideration. You put individual booking into consideration, and you just do a lot of homework. It takes a lot of work to put up a list like this, top 10 females within the last year. That's not something to be taken lightly, right? Because you're discrediting a lot of hard work from a lot of ladies that are not making this list. So you have to do your due diligence. But if anybody was to come up with their own top 10 performers, especially 250 of them like PWI has done, you want to believe that there's a lot of merit into it. So it's all subjective. Nobody can really tell you that your list is wrong. Unless it's totally obnoxious, right? Like if you have Charlotte Flair at number 1, the top female of the last year. We know that's absolutely bogus, right? That's asinine. Not only has she been injured for several months, many months, but on top of that, she's only 4 wins out of her last 22 matches. 4 of 22. So that's just because WWE labeled her a queen and she has 14 titles does not make Charlie top of the list. So hopefully that makes sense. As long as we're not just chucking our favorites out there, right? Because BC would put up probably Mercedes Moné if we were going by favorites. But the truth is, Mercedes Moné has only had 9 matches from October of last year to September of this year. 9 matches. She's won all 9 of them, but that will not put her in the top spot. We're not going just by our fan favorites. We're not going by just who we would like to be put up there, right? It takes a lot of hard work. So let's see if PWI was in at least the ballpark with these 10 names. BC did a lot of research on the 10 names they put up in totality from 1 to 10. And we're going to crack this list right now, man. Starting at number 1. And actually, before we even get into this list, I do have to give a shout out, a salute to my New York Yankees first and foremost, as I have been doing this whole week. ALCS, soon to be champions, and subsequently the World Series champions, my New York Yankees. But on top of that, my subscribers out there, man, I so appreciate you guys so much for taking the time and smashing that sub button, wherever that is. 5 or 6 years I've been creating content on this damn platform. I still don't know where that little subscription button is down below, but a lot of you guys have found it, and I appreciate you. And if you do find it, smash it. To my subscribers, thank you. And even more important to BC is my channel members, man. The utmost level of respect and appreciation and support for this channel is that damn membership. Chucking a coffee at the top of the month just to show support. Nothing cooler than that. So to my Yankees, my subscribers, and especially my channel members, salute. Now we can go over this list. PWI 250, the top 10 names in the world of wrestling for females. You guys ready for this? I always have fun with this type of stuff, man. Again, very subjective, but a lot went into it, so there's a lot of merit. So now we have to kind of dissect it and see, hey, man, should these names have been switched? Should that name be taken off? What about this name? You totally shunned them. They should have been on the top 10. Was there anything like that with this list? Here we go. You know what? No. I want to start. Yeah, I was going to go from like 10 to 1. No, let's not. I don't want to do that because I do want to kind of compare the other 9 to the top individual, which is, I got no drum roll here, but listen, come up with your own drum roll in your dome piece. The number 1 female in all of professional wrestling is, again, October 2023 to September 2024. That's our time frame, guys. It's very important to know. Toni Storm from All Elite Wrestling, AEW's Toni Storm, has grabbed the number 1 spot. Now, upon BC's research, I have come to find that Toni Storm has had 28 matches in that time frame, October 2023 to September of this year. 28 matchups, 26 W's, and 2 L's. 26 of 28. Pretty damn good win-loss column. Not a lot of matchups, but there's several names in this top 10 that just did not have a lot of matches within a full year's time frame. You got to remember, and I say this every year, it's not like Japan. In Japan, they'll wrestle 100 to 200 times a year, bare minimum sometimes. 100 to 200. You think Vince McMahon's schedule was hard back in the day. In Japan, it's a normal Tuesday afternoon to wrestle 3 times. And we'll actually go over a few of those names too, who made this top 10 list. And you'll see the stark contrastment in how many matchups. But you can't determine spots just based on more matches wrestled. I mean, you can take it into consideration, but you can't levy somebody many spots lower because they didn't wrestle as many times. I hope that makes sense because it's positioning, it's placement, it's the booking of such during the feud or storyline. Many things are to be considered, and Toni Storm had a breakout unbelievable year in terms of females for 2024. And I will call this 2024, guys, even though it's October of 2023 to September of 24. It's much easier, less confusing if I just say of 2024, but you guys know the time frame. So Toni Storm, I mean, we're going to go down the next 9 names. We're going to go through the whole 10. And many of these names you could easily say should be above Toni Storm, and you probably would not be wrong. But Toni Storm being at the top of the list isn't necessarily wrong either. It's all on how you come to terms with your top performer list. That's what I mean. It's very subjective. And as long as you're putting all the factors in play, wins, losses, the record, the booking, great discussion on it, good thought, facts, As long as you're putting everything in, you do your due diligence and your homework, nobody can really say you're wrong here, especially 1, 2, and 3. I mean, either one of those ladies could have been top spot, but Toni Storm got it. And what do I mean by that? Look at number 2. You could have easily, in fact, if BC was putting together a list, I'm 50% sure, 50%, that this number 2 would have gotten the top spot. Number 2, the PWI Top 250 list. These are the top 10 females in the world of pro wrestling within the last year. Jordynne Grace of TNA Wrestling. Now, we did add in October to September, also includes Impact. Same company, different names. So in a lot of win-loss research columns, you might see Impact separate from TNA. That's what BC came across. So it was a little harder to pile up the info for Jordynne Grace because I had to compile 2 different companies, which was actually the same company, just different names. I hope that makes sense. So I had to compile Impact with TNA. Even though we know it's the same thing, man. Jordynne Grace, number 2. Now, upon my research, Jordynne Grace has had 33 matchups within that 1-year time frame, October to September. 33 matches, 32 W's, 1 loss. That's what I mean. Again, number 1 is Toni Storm at 28 matches, 26 W's, 2 losses. Jordynne Grace has wrestled more matchups, 33, and only lost 1. Record-wise, win-loss, Jordynne Grace has a better record. You could say that matchup-wise, where this upload, this amped up would take probably 5 hours if I was to go through every one of these ladies' feuds and their top moments. But you could easily say Jordynne Grace had a much more polarizing year. The crossover with NXT, matchups with Roxy Perez, the Royal Rumble. So many big moments, and what she did in TNA and Impact, 32 out of 33 W's. You could easily say Jordynne Grace is number 1, but she got beat out by Toni Storm. PWI felt that Toni had the most polarizing year in AEW with their type of TV contract and more exposure. Maybe that kind of tipped the scale for Toni Storm. But damn, if you tell me Jordynne Grace took the top spot, I wouldn't say you're wrong. Now you're thinking, where's WWE on this list, man? We're already at number 3. We got AEW in the top spot. TNA Impact took number 2. And you're probably thinking, where's Rhea Ripley, by the way? Look at the year Rhea's had. What? Rhea Ripley comes in at number 3 for World Wrestling Entertainment. So WWE finally cracks the list at number 3. Now, Rhea has had 30 matches within the last year, October 23 to September 24. Rhea Ripley, 30 matchups, 29 W's, 1 loss. Also better than Toni Storm. Some may say Rhea was way more polarizing than Toni Storm. But again, if there was great discussion within PWI and the powers that be there, they're probably thinking what Toni Storm was able to do with AEW. When that women's division really needed somebody to step up, this was even before Mercedes Moné hit the scene. And all of a sudden, people were talking about, yo, did you see Dynamite? No, not just the dude. Did you see Toni Storm? Because that's what was happening, guys. You could miss the show, but you were hearing about what Toni Storm was doing. So I can see that aspect, but you can't act like people weren't doing that with Rhea Ripley. And when Ripley came back, man, did that tip the scale. And that really took the wrestling world a buzz. So again, that's where the subjective comes in. You could easily take Toni Storm, put her 3, and Ripley at number 1. Again, I probably would even have Jordynne Grace etch out Rhea Ripley. But Rhea Ripley, man, 29 of 30. And that's with her being out a couple months, by the way. Right? And that's another thing. Maybe they add injury as a detriment, but it shouldn't be viewed as such. Because if anything, they're showing you that even with the injury, they were able to put a 29 out of 30 match W column in play. 29 of 30 with an injury that took them out a couple, 2-3 months. Bare minimum. So, I mean, that's what I mean. You don't necessarily have to wrestle 150 matches a year. You can make a gigantic impact with a fraction of that. But the lady that made number 4 on this list, she went the other way. And she said, no, I'm going to wrestle 150 times in 1 year. Almost anyway. She literally almost did 122 matchups. Wait till you hear this. But again, the top 3, Toni Storm 1, AEW, Jordynne Grace 2, TNA, and number 3, Rhea Ripley from WWE. Number 4, damn, she is not afraid to get in there almost every single night and rock it out. Number 4 is from Stardom. She is Micah. Micah with 122 matchups, 87 W's, 35 losses. Now, you want to prop up that 122 matchups, and it's probably what propped her up to number 4 on this list. But you also do look at the 35 L's, and you go, she ain't getting more than 4. But that is awesome. I always love when, these ladies outside the States, especially in Japan, that, they get the recognition on these lists because it makes people go, who? Tap into your inner New Day. A lot of people did that with Julia when she was that last year's list, whatever it was. And everybody started buzzing. Oh, who's this Julia, man? How is she number 1? How did she rate so high? So I'm really hoping that a lot of people do that with names, not just in the top 10, but really look at this list and go, how did they place them so high? I got to find out more. But number 4, I would not have had her number 4. I have no issue at all putting her in the top 10 list at 122 matchups. Because it's not just win-loss. You know what I mean? It's that work being put in. And not many put more in than Micah. But 87-35. There was a lot of mid-points within that year for Micah as well. So top 10 I'm fine with. 4 maybe a bit too high. But I ain't taking that spot away, man. That was hard-earned. Forget deserved. That was hard-earned. Micah from Stardom, number 4. Number 5, I name a lot of individuals that didn't know this lady just a few months ago. They're really starting to get to know this woman now. Number 5 goes to Stephanie the Cure. Stephanie from NXT. Finally, NXT breaks the list. Now, technically, do you say NXT? Or do you just go promotion before? Because, she just got there. But I guess NXT will take the credit for, man. We can put those letters finally on this list. Stephanie comes in 36 matchups, 24 W's, 12 losses. Pretty big. That's pretty big. Again, wins and losses don't necessarily, they're not the be-all, end-all, especially in pro wrestling. Is scripted, we get it. Predetermined, planned out, we get it. But it is how you're booked, right? Wins and losses matter so much. It shows what the promotion, how much they believe in you, and your star power. So 12 L's and 24 W's on 36 matchups. That's a little hefty on the L side. So again, and you guys know how much I, especially lately, been praising Stephanie. Top 5, I probably would not have gone that far. But this is, again, that's where the subjectiveness kind of comes into play. And Micah grabs 4 and Stephanie at 5. Oof. Because at that point, then how did Mariah May not get it right? And you're like, Mariah, no way, BC. But, if we're going by a lot of, breakout performances, wins and losses, star moments, impactful moments, good feuds, how do you not put Mariah then at that point? We'll get to her in a few spots, by the way. I'm just picking her as just a name. Or Becky Lynch, right? Becky didn't even make the top 10, guys. I'll talk more about that possibly in a few minutes, but Stephanie, number 5, with a 24 W 12 L record out of the 36 matchups. Number 6, Marigold. We're taking a trip to Marigold. It is Sari. Sari, 28 matchups, 20 W's, 8 losses. 20-8. But she was very impactful with Marigold. And that's what I mean. You know, you see somebody like Micah wrestling 122 matchups. You see somebody like Sari wrestling 28. It's just that's just a, what is it, 94 match difference? 104, I think it's a 94 match difference. But here they are placing only two placements separate them. Wild, right? But again, so much goes into it. But Sari, man, 28 matchups, 20 Ws, 8 Ls at number 6. Number 7, we finally get back to World Wrestling Entertainment. And this name might kind of shock people because of the Ws and the Ls. Number 7, hope I didn't say 8. Number 7 from WWE, Bayley makes the list. Bayley at number 7. Bayley had 69 matchups. So she was definitely one of the workhorses for WWE from October to September. Bayley, and that's probably what placed her in this list, top 10. 69 matchups. 40 were Ws, and 29 were losses. Nearly 30, nearly 40 and 30, right? If you were to round that to a good 70 matchups, 40-30. 40 Ws, 29 Ls. That's hefty on the L side. You don't need BC to tell you that. She was working heel for a lot of that, though. So, or was she? I don't know. She started going the turn, and then she won the title at Mania. I don't know. A lot of that was actually face. But I'm guessing the tail end was a lot of heel losses. I don't know. That's hefty on the L side. But 69 matchups, when you look at WWE talent for the ladies, that is a workhorse. So ain't no way I'm taking her out of the top 10, man. She definitely earned that. Number 7 is Bayley. Again, I would just have to say, how does Becky Lynch not place? Because if we're just talking about hiatus or injury, shouldn't that be a benefit to them in their standing and not a detriment? Just keeping that in mind, Bayley, because when I go over Becky Lynch, who, again, didn't even make the top 10, I just want you guys to see how subjectiveness does come into play. Bayley at number 7. Number 8, we're going to go back to All Elite Wrestling. And this is going to be Willow Nightingale at number 8. 36 matchups, 25 Ws, 11 losses. Very pedestrian as well. 25 and 11 to make up 36. But Willow had some damn big moments in I mean, when Willow first came upon the scene, and BC did the same thing to Willow, I'm like, what is this? Come on, stop. You know what I mean? Like, this is going to be good enhancement talent. And that's not even shade. That's just how she was initially booked and looked upon, booked by AEW. There's no reason fans wouldn't say that's just going to just make Britt Baker look good and such, right? If Saraya's coming in, just make Saraya look good, Willow. And Willow just day by day, week by week, show by show, month by month, just came into her own, man. To the point where Willow Nightingale is making the top 10 of the top 250 females in pro wrestling list. Top 10 at number 8. You got to give her mad props. So the numbers may be pedestrian, but the moments and the matches that this woman has had, up until recently even, but those big matchups with Mercedes Moné, looked upon as one of the best in the world, Mercedes, outside of the last year, of course. But a lot of people have Mercedes at the top spot, and Willow went in there several times and rocked out with her. Willow from AEW in at number 8. Number 9, we're going to stick with All Elite Wrestling a lot. This is very AEW heavy, and I'm sure that's going to be a big topic of discussion within the wrestling world about how subjective this is, right? And I'm not saying that any one of them are not worthy to be in there, but it is very AEW heavy, and it's probably going to be a big topic of discussion. I'll just leave it at that. But Mariah May in at number 9, 33 matchups, 26 Ws, 7 losses. So this is one of those things where, you know, record-wise, she's beating out Willow Nightingale. Mariah's had one of those breakout years. Is it worthy to be in top 10 territory? BC wouldn't go that far, but I mean, she was one of the names, especially in the last several months, that was creating one of the biggest buzzes in the pro wrestling world. Easily, guys. Like Toni Storm was doing before her, Mariah May became that person. So I think just going on that is what really props several of these names into the top 10. Mariah May has grabbed the 9th spot. Number 10, we're also going to stick All Elite Wrestling with their subdivision of ROH. Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon, one of the best wrestlers in the world. I've said this time and time again. I stay true to that statement today, and I probably will 5 years from now. She's just that good. Athena has had 20 matchups, 18 W's, 2 L's. But every time Athena steps in the ring, she's the best in the world. Or at least she's right up there with the best. So she's always going to make probably BC's top 10 in every single facet. 18-2 with a 20-match totality. I could see how many would bump her out of the top 10. Right? Numbers-wise, they're not exactly up to par in bulk with the other 9 ladies, for instance. Definitely the lowest on the tier of totality. But Athena is, I mean, how do you see her in a top 10 list and say, no, she needs to get Das Boot? I I couldn't do it. So if they're putting her in the top 10, BC's like, yeah, it's Athena. Makes sense. Now, before I go into some of these names that did not make the list and really are going to make you go, wait, what? How do you put this person in and this person doesn't even make the top 10? Especially one name, Roxy. I'm absolutely baffled, but we'll go over that in a second. But before we do that, let me just go over these 10 names again, because this is huge, and I don't want to discredit or take anything away from these ladies. As subjective as it may be, there is a lot of merit and hard work that went into this, and all 10 ladies deserve a salute, no matter what. At number 10, from AEW, ROH Athena. At number 9, from AEW, Mariah May. At number 8, from AEW, Willow Nightingale. At number 7, from WWE, Bayley. At number 6, from Marigold, Sari. At number 5, from NXT, Stephanie Vaquer. At number 4, from Stardom, Micah. At number 3, from WWE, Rhea Ripley. At number 2, from TNA Impact, Jordynne Grace. At number 1, from All Elite Wrestling, Toni Storm. That is your top 10. Hard to believe with all the female talent, okay? Because this is where we're going to have a little discussion now. This is where BC is going to really open it up to the subjectiveness. It's hard to have all these great female talents in NXT. It's what they're known for, really. And only one of them made the list, and it's one of the females that just made her debut. Literally just did, Stephanie Vaquer. That's it. How do you shun Roxanne Perez from this top 10 list, top 5 list? How is she not even in discussion for top 3? Roxy, 42 matchups, 33 W's, 9 L's. 33 W's. 33 victories. That's more than the number 1 spot, Toni Storm, who has 26. 33 beats out 26. That's more than Jordynne Grace's 32, even if it's just by 1. It's more than Rhea Ripley's 29 W's. It's more than Stephanie Vaquer's 24 W's. It's more than Sari's 20 W's. It's more than Willow's 25 and Mariah's 26 and Athena's 18. Most of the ladies on this list, the W's alone, Roxanne has racked up more. She's wrestled more than a lot of individuals on this list. Wrestled more than Toni Storm by a good 14 matchups. 9 more matchups than Jordynne Grace and 12 more than Rhea Ripley. Ain't nobody catching up to Micah at 122. But 22 matches more than Athena. More than double what Athena did. And at least Athena made number 10. Roxanne, that's just wins and losses, guys. Right? We're just going over the most simplistic way to rate these ladies. Wins and losses. When you look at the year that they've had, Roxanne, are you looking at the people she has faced, the storyline she has been in? That Jordynne Grace at number Number 2, getting her and Rhea mixed up. Number 2, Jordynne Grace. Roxanne beat her. Roxanne Perez topped Jordynne Grace. Roxanne Perez was in a story in a matchup with Jordynne Grace. And before I get ahead of myself, in case you're wondering, Roxanne Perez, Roxy, came in at number 11 on this top 250 list. Just outside, literally just outside the top 10. It's one of those scenarios you'd rather kind of get 13 or 14, right? Because this is just a slap in the face. They knew that the top 10 list goes out first. This is the list that's going to hit every market before any other name gets put out there. It's these 10. This is the top of the top, the cream of the crop. And Roxy, who has been putting in all this work, one of the best champions that we've had in pro wrestling in the last year. For the ladies, for sure, with all the work she's been putting in and the matches she's been having and the individuals she's been in that ring with. And Roxanne Perez is behind Stephanie Vicure by 6 spots outside the top 10. Mariah May is ahead of Roxy. Bayley at 29 losses in 40 Ws is ahead of Roxy. I don't know on what planet that's conceivable. You know, when we started this off, I said as long as it's not ludicrous, right? Like Charlie Flair, who's got 4 Ws in 22 matchups. Her last 22, she's only won 4, and she's been injured for the longest of times. You just add everything up. There's no way she's definitely not in the top 5, but not even top 20, 30. There's no way. Hasn't had that kind of year. Well, this is almost just, maybe not just as ludicrous, but it's pretty damn ludicrous to leave Roxy off the top 10. There's no way. Again, I don't want to discredit any one of these ladies, but one of them would have to get Das Boot. Open for discussion. It could be the longest of discussion. It could take days, weeks to find out who it is, but one person has to get Das Boot, because Roxy, ain't no way you can disrespect her like that and bump her from the top and put her at number 11. This is the top 10, but you're a pretty good runner-up, kid. That's just a slap in the face. Roxanne Perez, that's the ultimate disrespect. Number 11. Stop. In case you're wondering, again, Mercedes Moné, a lot of people are wondering, where's Mercedes? She's the best in the world. Well, Mercedes has had 9 matches from October last year to September of this year. She's won all 9, but she's only had 9. Hardly any way you could even talk about her in the top 10, unfortunately. Becky Lynch, this one was surprising to me as well. Becky Lynch, I know she's taken the hiatus, but Becky Lynch has had 49 matches within that time frame year. 49. Way more than a lot of these individuals in the top 10. She's got 41 Ws and only 8 losses. 41-8 in 49 matches. She's a workhorse. Again, 69 for Bayley, 40 Ws, 29 losses. Becky Lynch is running circles around that. But Bayley took 7, and Becky couldn't sniff the top 10. Brittany Baker, in case you guys are wondering, right? I know a lot of people are just thinking of like bigger names. Where's Brittany Baker? Britt Baker only had 4 matchups, guys, within October to September. That calendar year, or that 12-month time frame, she's only had 4 matchups. She's won 3, she lost 1, hardly enough to even put her in any conversation. Britt Baker, unfortunately, has not had the year that she would have liked. A lot of reasoning for that, obviously. But that's why Baker's out. Another name maybe you're thinking about, Julia, right? She came in, again, I believe number 2 last year, correct? I don't think she grabbed the top spot. Top 2 for sure. I think number 2. But in case you're wondering, Julia, no, she was not top 10. She wasn't even in that top 10 list this year at 58 matchups, 42 Ws, 16 Ls. I think the Ls kind of took a little bit of precedent. The fact that she chose WWE, maybe PWI was kind of like, I mean, there was some major snubs here from World Wrestling Entertainment and especially NXT. Again, the only name that made the top 10 was Stephanie, but you look at the work she did in other promotions. more than what she's done in NXT. She just got to NXT. She literally just debuted. So I doubt she got in there for any... Well, she didn't. She didn't get in there with anything to do with NXT because, again, this was October of last year to September. She didn't even debut yet when this list was finalized. So you can't even put the letters next to NXT next to Stephanie then based on this time frame. So they snubbed NXT completely with this list. If it wasn't for Jordynne Grace having some matches in NXT... literally NXT wouldn't even be mentioned in this list. I mean, that's sad, man. I don't know what the disrespect is there with NXT, but something happened where PWI looks at NXT's females division and said, fuck you, and flipped them off. Because NXT got a master snub. Julia, 58 matchups, 42 Ws, 16 Ls. Hardly enough to get Julia out of the top 10, you would think. But she's not in it. So those are just some names too. Again, we could go another hour just picking names. And again, all these W's and L's, all these statistics and numbers and all that, guys. BC just went out of his way to do that homework because it's what I love to do. I love talking pro wrestling. I love numbers, statistics, metrics. You guys know that. Ratings. So to me, this is my unwinding time, right? This is my hobby. This is what I love to do. So to be able to have all of you guys enjoy it and be captivated with BC, not just by what I'm saying, but all of us in the conversation together. I'd have it no other way, man. I love spending the time, my free time, because it gets BC thinking about this too. Like, dang, I learned so much from their booking, and you get to see what is right and what is wrong. It's pretty cool, right? Because you know what these females are capable of and how they should be booked. And when you start to see certain things, it's like, whoa, more of that. Or, whoa, that shouldn't be happening. So I love doing my research like this. And I did a lot of it for this upload. And it was a ton of fun. It really was. I love these type of uploads, man. I love these type of discussions. Very subjective, but a lot of merit put into as well. So you don't want to discredit any one of these individuals. But some of the names, you're just like, how did they not make it? You know there's only 10 spots. You don't want to take anybody out. But there's just some names where you're like, well, how did they make it? And they didn't. And unless there's that transparency, you're always going to have people going, get out of here with that. Stop. Guys, appreciate it, man. What an upload. Oh, just a ton of fun, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as I did making it for you. And until next time, and there will be that next time, like tomorrow, every Monday through Friday up front, check out a brand new Amped Up with BC. And until that next time, there will be that next time, top guys. We are out, BC and the unit saying, check you. Salute.